Well, hello, my friends. I am excited to share with you a little technique that I learned a while ago, and I want to share it with you. Now, this technique is called EFT. It is a tapping technique, and it stands for Emotional Freedom Technique. I almost went blank on that one. I was like, wait a minute. Emotional Freedom Technique. And I learned it a while back when for my massage. So for those that you might not know that I still am actually an active licensed massage therapist. I've been one for 17 years. And during the time of massage therapy, I take a lot of continuing education courses. And I've always loved doing that. And one of the things that I always found myself gravitating towards was anything on self-care. Hence the reason probably why I transitioned from massage therapy to life coaching with helping people create awareness, because the more awareness I created around myself, the more I found that clients gravitated towards me and they wanted to be, because I felt clear and grounded, so they wanted to experience that. So it was a very fascinating thing. And so as a massage therapist, I found that that was kind of happening quite a bit in my career. And I wanted to be able to help people create more awareness, and so hence the reason I became a life coach. So, little side note. Let's go back to the topic about EFT. So, Emotional Freedom Technique is a tapping technique that is it follows the meridians in our body. So we have 12 meridians, and this one taps on 9 of them. And what it does is it's designed. The idea of meridians is it helps you to kind of open up flow to certain areas in your life. So the meridians are aligned with usually like your intestines or your kidney or your heart, or so it's aligned with usually some kind of major organ. And so because of that, you tap into it, and what it's doing is it kind of is relaxing you and helping you to kind of calm and create awareness around your thinking. But the first step in EFT is you need to be deciding what one emotion that you're experiencing that you want to address. Like, what is coming up? What's the problem you want to address? Not like the list of problems, but what's the problem that you're feeling right now that you want to address with using EFT. And so that is the first step with it. The second step is kind of realizing, where am I on the scale of 0 to 10, 10 being the worst. And you're usually about an 8 or a 10 when you're going to be doing the tapping. And the goal is to get down between below 5. So like a 4 or 3 to a 0, right? To get down to 0. What I kind of recommend as a life coach, this is not the massage therapist speaking to me, but as a life coach, is that to at least get down to that 5 or below the 5, like that 4, where you feel like it's about a 4. Not that it's gone away, but that you're consciously aware of it, and now you're accepting of it, and you're okay with it. And you can kind of calm it down a little bit more by the more you actually open up to it and accept it even more. So that's the fascinating thing about EFT. So you want to know what the emotion is that you're experiencing, that you're wanting to kind of calm down, what the situation might be, or the thought that you're having is kind of that coach talk then with me. Because when I coach clients, we work on the model, and the model, we use the circumstance, our thoughts, our feelings, the actions we take, the results we get. So the circumstance is the neutral part, but the thought is really what you're tapping into when you're doing your tapping for your EFT. So what's the thought that you're having about that circumstance? What's the emotion that's coming up for you? Again, what you would use in that phrase with your EFT. So I am going to use an example of something that I experience, and I still experience, and I definitely don't experience as much as I used to, but I still experience it. And it is feeling frustrated when I think my husband's not listening to me. So for me, that's kind of, sometimes I get frustrated. I'm like, why isn't he listening to me? Or, I'm frustrated that he's not listening to me. Or just having the thought, right, that I'm believing that he's not listening to me. And then I feel frustrated. So that is a tapping thing that I want to do with you here today. So when you do the tapping, you want to first of all make the statement of what it is that you are tapping for. And so there's kind of some dialogue that you use when you do that. And I'm just going to actually read it real quick so make sure I don't like mess that part up. But even though I have this, and you state the problem, this is kind of a guideline. It doesn't have to be perfect word for word on it, but it kind of gives you an idea. Even though I have this, the problem, I deeply and completely accept myself. So even though I'm having this, you're stating what is, I deeply and completely accept myself. All right, so I'm going to put in my phrase that I brought about frustration. So I'm frustrated that my husband isn't listening to me. Now, like I said with tapping, or maybe I didn't, I hope I did, said with tapping, you want to make sure it's about yourself, about you. So I'm feeling the frustration because I'm having the belief that my husband isn't listening to me. I get it. Like, I'm not trying to change him. I'm not trying to say that he needs to stop being the way he is. I'm creating awareness that I'm having frustration because I'm believing that my husband's not listening to me. That is tapping into what is. It's creating that awareness to myself. So EFT is a technique to help you be able to just create that awareness. All right. So when you first start with EFT, like I said, you kind of go this scale from 0 to 10. You have the phrase and what it is that you're going to say. And actually, you kind of break down that phrase. So you're going to say that phrase 3 times. So you're acknowledging what it is that you're experiencing, right? The problem. But at the same time, you deeply and completely accept yourself. Or you can say completely and deeply, deeply, completely. I love myself, accept myself. Whatever that kind of looks like for you, that's kind of the guidelines of something to say. That makes it helpful. So that's the beginning part. And you want to eventually go down to anywhere between that 5. So if you're at a 10, and there's 10 to 0, the scale, if you're at a 10 and you want to go down to right about that, anywhere between a 3 to a 5 kind of spot, that's a really good spot to kind of be in. And then you'll find that actually you kind of just it starts to diminish even more and you get to that 0 spot. All right, so again, the tapping, we're going to start, and you start on the forehead, and you're going to repeat the phrase 3 times as you're tapping. I'm just going to go through it just once without actually saying anything. You do that, and then the next one you do is you go to the eyebrow, and you tap right up in here. So you're going to tap, and it's 7 times. And then you go to the next thing, and you tap out here, the outer of the eye here. And then you go down here underneath, right? So you're tapping in there. Go underneath the nose. Go to the chin. Go to the collarbone right there. You can also do this, like on the chest, like that. Tap there. And then you also go underneath the arm here in the armpit area. So like right where the breast is at, kind of that area. You're going to tap right there underneath the arm, the auxiliary area kind of spot of the arm as well, right in there. And that is the kind of the way in which we do the tapping. And when you're doing the tapping, you're doing 7 times. So you kind of count to 7 while you're saying some things. And I'll kind of go through that with you. And you repeat it between 2 to 3 times. So you want to repeat that. And then you want to check in with yourself. You want to be like, okay, on the scale of 0 to 10, where do I feel? If you're still feeling like an 8, you want to continue to tap. And through the process of tapping and saying those words and just creating that acknowledgement and that awareness is a great start to kind of just help to decompress. All right, so let's go ahead and go through a whole cycle, and I'll go ahead and show that to you right now. So we're going to start here. Even though I am frustrated with my husband that he's not listening to me, I deeply and completely accept myself. Even though I am frustrated with my husband because I believe he's not listening to me, I deeply and completely accept myself. Even though I am frustrated with my husband because I believe he's not listening to me, I deeply and completely accept myself. Even though my husband is frustrating me I know, and accept that I'm okay, even though this is happening. I'm frustrated. I know that I'm okay. Now, I just did that once through, but again, it's just talking to yourself. You can say little phrases, you can just talk to yourself. People do it different ways. I know when I was being taught by the one gal, she says it's just kind of having the acknowledgement that that's happening. Like, I'm frustrated because he's not listening. He's not listening to me. I'm frustrated because I believe he's not listening to me. So doing that is just giving that awareness to it. And like I said, you want to go through it about 3 times through, and then just take a break and then find out where you're at on the scale. And you can continue on with it as you see fit to be able to do that. Now, that is a way in which to, again, create that awareness. And it's got that Eastern part, right? So that meridian, it's talking about kind of opening up pathways for yourself. For me as well, I think there's also a Western part of it too that's kind of like in there, because it is an Eastern type thing, but I think that there's a Western there as far as like tapping into that parasympathetic nervous system. So instead of being in the sympathetic, which is that stress reactor, right, the fight or flight, we're kind of toning it down and getting into that parasympathetic system, which is that rest and digest. And so it's kind of that creating that acknowledgement in the body, the meridians, the nervous system. I think it's working a lot of wonderful things, and you're just creating awareness about your thought process. I really believe that connecting with ourselves is so important because we're the only ones who know what we need. And we're the only ones that really know how to answer that need. And until we connect with ourselves enough to be able to know and to try and to practice enough on how we need to say it or how we need to show up and kind of have our back as we're growing through that process, we start to connect more and we believe more in ourselves and we believe of the possibilities that we're capable of. And truly, that's what I love as a coach. I love to be able to offer that space for clients to kind of explore that for themselves. So if you are interested ever in coaching, please reach out to me. I would love to connect with you. But I always hope that these videos are helpful, that you're kind of get some information, some questions that you can ask yourself, techniques like I just shared. This is the first time I've done a technique one. I think I'm going to do another technique one here soon as well. All right, my friends, thank you for tuning in. Get your tapping on the Emotional Freedom Technique. And if you want to look it up some more for some other, tips and stuff, but hopefully I gave you enough information so that you can start on your own in helping yourself create awareness when you're having a frustrating or a stressful or an anxiety situation. Give you something that you can do, because you can do this anywhere. Right? Think of what's going on. Think of the thought, the phrase. Make sure it's within you, something that you can do, not that you want them to change, right? So it's something that you can do, and start to believe it and then create that awareness around it and acknowledgement of it. All right, my friends, I look forward to talking to you again next week. Take care. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.